We sold your kids' birthday bikes and tablets online, $4,600 total. They don't need fancy things, Dad said. He spent the money on my brother's kids, a PS5, designer shoes, and a go-kart. My son asked Grandpa, they get fun stuff, but we don't? Dad shrugged. Yes, buddy, they matter more. My brother whispered, don't embarrass yourself here. I didn't. I canceled the Disney cruise, stopped paying for Dad's beach condo, and said, you already have too much fun stuff. Then I hung up, but he didn't know I had made one more call. The go-kart came out of the garage first. Martin rolled it across the driveway on its fat rubber tires, red paint catching the afternoon sun, a bow taped to the handlebars. Behind him, Craig carried 2 shopping bags, one in each hand, the kind with tissue paper folded over the top. The whole backyard was set up for Miles's 7th birthday, streamers on the fence, a sheet cake on the folding table, 14 paper plates. My daughter Ruby had spent 20 minutes arranging plastic forks in a row because she wanted them to look nice for Grandpa. The go-kart was not for Miles. Martin wheeled it past the birthday table, past the streamers, past the cake with Miles's name on it, and parked it in front of Craig's son Jaden. Jaden was 8. He was not the birthday boy. He tore the bow off and climbed in before anyone said a word. Craig set the bags down in front of his daughter Zoe. She pulled out a pair of designer sneakers, lavender with gold stitching, still in the box. Then a PS5, sealed with 2 controllers. Zoe held up the shoes and looked at her mother Tasha, who smiled and helped her try them on. Miles was standing next to me. Ruby was holding my hand. The 2 of them watched Craig's kids open gift after gift while the birthday table behind them sat empty. No boxes, no wrapping paper, nothing with Miles's name on it. Miles looked up at Martin. Grandpa, they get fun stuff, but we don't? Martin was pouring lemonade. He did not stop pouring. He did not look down. He shrugged the way people shrug when they have already decided the answer is not worth a full sentence. Yes, buddy, they matter more. The lemonade kept pouring. Ruby's hand tightened around my fingers. Damon, my husband, was standing near the grill with a spatula frozen in his hand. He looked at me. His jaw was set and his eyes were asking a question he already knew the answer to. Miles did not cry. That was the part that broke something inside me. A 7-year-old boy heard his grandfather tell him he mattered less, and he did not cry. He nodded. He walked to the folding table and sat down in front of his own birthday cake and put his hands in his lap and waited for something that was not coming. Craig leaned close to my ear. His voice was low enough that only the 2 of us could hear it. Don't embarrass yourself here, Viv. Walk away. You think because you pay for things that makes you important? Dad's right. Your kids are soft. Mine know what real life looks like. Go back to your spreadsheets. My hands were still. My voice was still. Everything inside me had gone flat and cold in a way that does not reverse. Miles, Ruby were going. Damon was already moving. He had the diaper bag over one shoulder and Ruby's jacket in his hand before the words finished landing. Miles got up from the table without looking at anyone. He picked up the birthday card he had made for Martin, the one that said Best Grandpa in green marker with a drawing of the 2 of them fishing. He carried it to the car himself. Martin did not notice. The car doors closed. The engine started. The cookout got smaller in the rearview mirror. Nobody from that backyard followed us to the driveway. Nobody called out. The last thing visible through the back window was Jaden doing laps on the go-kart while the birthday cake sat untouched on the table with 7 unlit candles. What Martin did not know, sitting in that backyard with his lemonade and his shrug, was who had paid for the gifts he had just given away. He thought he was redistributing from the rich grandkids to the ones who needed it more. He was not. He was redistributing from the woman who had been paying for his entire life. That is not a fact he would learn until 3 days later. And by then, every door his money walked through would be locked. To understand what happened next, you need to understand what Vivian Holt had been paying for. The pattern started before the condo, before the retirement account, before the school fees. It started with a phone call when I was 26 years old, 2 years into my career as a certified financial planner, earning $68,000 and feeling like it was a fortune. Martin called on a Sunday night. He said the furnace had quit. He said the repair estimate was $3,400. He said he did not have it. He asked if there was any way. There was a way. There was always a way when it came to my father, because the way was always me. The furnace got fixed. The $3,400 came out of my savings. Martin said he would pay it back in the spring. Spring came and went. The money never came back. But the phone calls did. Over the next 8 years, the requests built a pattern so steady it became invisible. The way you stop noticing a noise that has been in the house long enough. A $1,200 car repair, a $600 dental bill, a $900 credit card balance that needed to go away before the interest compounded. Each time, the same structure. The call, the need, the ask, the transfer, the promise to pay it back, the silence after. By the time the condo appeared, I had already spent more than $28,000 on individual requests. Not once did Martin say thank you in a way that was not also the setup for the next ask. The beach condo came 4 years ago. 4 years ago, Martin found a 2-bedroom rental unit in Myrtle Beach. Ocean view, gated complex, $2,800 a month. He wanted to lease it as a retirement retreat. His credit score was 540. The leasing office would not approve him. He called me on a Thursday evening and asked if there was any way to make it work. There was a way. The lease went into my name. My credit, my signature, my social security number on the application. Martin's name appeared nowhere on the document. The $2,800 monthly payment came out of my checking account on the first of every month for 48 consecutive months. Total over 4 years, $134,400. Then the retirement cushion. Martin asked for help building a savings buffer, something to fall back on. He was 61, working part-time at a lumber yard, earning $23,000 a year. The math did not work for retirement. So every month, $800 went from my account into a savings account I had set up in his name at his local credit union. 3 years of deposits. $28,800 sitting in that account. Then the school fees. Craig's son Jaden played travel baseball. Registration, equipment, tournament fees, $240 a month. Craig's daughter Zoe did competitive dance. Costumes, studio rental, recital fees, $100 a month. Craig told Martin he could not afford the activities. Martin told me the $340 monthly payment started 2 years ago and had never missed. Then the homeowner's insurance. Martin's house, the one he had owned since before Craig and I were born, had a $1,200 annual premium. 3 years ago, Martin missed a payment and the policy lapsed. He called me in a panic. The premium went onto my credit card and stayed there. $100 a month, auto-renewed, no interruption. Total recurring monthly payments made by Vivian Holt on behalf of Martin Holt and Craig Holt's family, $4. 040. $4,040 a month leaving my account to keep my father housed, insured, retired, and my brother's children in cleats and tutus. And on top of all of that, $4,600 in birthday gifts. 2 bikes at $1,400 each. 2 tablets at $900 each. Ordered 3 weeks before the cookout, shipped to Martin's address, wrapped and labeled with Miles's and Ruby's names. Shipped to Martin so he could be the one to hand them over, so my children could feel like Grandpa cared. Martin sold every one of them online before the wrapping paper was off. He used the $4,600 to buy the Go-Kart, the PS5, and the sneakers for Craig's kids at Miles's birthday party. That night, at 1:40 in the morning, Damon found me at the kitchen table. The laptop was open. The credit card statement was on the screen. The spreadsheet beside it had 4 years of transactions sorted by recipient. Damon sat down across from me the way he does when he already knows something is wrong and is choosing to be in the room for it rather than fix it. He teaches 7th grade history. He makes $52,000 a year. He has never once asked me to stop paying for my father. He has also never once said it was a good idea. The bikes were from us, I said. He looked at the screen, then at me. All 4 items. The bikes and the tablets. I ordered them 3 weeks ago. Shipped them to Dad's house so he could give them to the kids at the party. He sold them. All of them. Online, used the money to buy the Go-Kart and the PS5 and the shoes. Damon was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Miles picked up the birthday card from the table. He carried it to the car. I know, he has not said a word since we got home. He went to his room and closed the door. I know. What do you want to do? The cursor was blinking on the spreadsheet. 4 years of numbers. 4 years of being the person who kept every light on, and every payment current, and every activity funded, and every premium active. And in return, my son was told at his own birthday party that he mattered less. I almost closed the laptop and went to bed. What stopped me was not anger. It was the image of Miles sitting at that folding table with his hands in his lap, waiting for a gift that his grandfather had already sold, 7 years old. Sitting still, not crying. That image would not let me sleep. It would not let me close the screen. It would not let me do what I had done for 4 years, which was absorb it. The Disney cruise was first. The booking was in my name. Departure from Port Canaveral in 11 weeks. $9,200 for a family of 4. Martin had been telling everyone about it. He had mentioned it at church, at the hardware store, at Craig's house. My daughter's taking the whole family on a Disney cruise. He said it the way people say things when they want credit for proximity to someone else's money. The cancellation went through at 2:07 a.m. Full refund to the original card. Confirmation number saved to a folder on my desktop labeled Martin. The folder had been created 4 minutes earlier. It was going to get much larger. If you are watching this on Betrayal Unfolded and you have ever been the person in your family who pays for everything and gets thanked for nothing, stay with this one, because the cruise was just the first thing I canceled. And by the time the sun came up, I had found something in that bank account that made the go-kart look like a rounding error. The retirement cushion account was at a credit union 12 miles from Martin's house, his name on the account. My deposits going in every month, $800, automatic transfer, same day every month for 3 years. At 6:15 the next morning, the app was open on my phone. The account balance should have been approximately $28,800. 3 years of $800 deposits with no withdrawals would put it in that range. The balance on the screen said $4,312. $24,000 was missing. The transaction history loaded in reverse chronological order. The pattern was immediate. Cash withdrawals. $300 here. $500 there. A $1,200 withdrawal in March. An $800 withdrawal in November. A $2,400 withdrawal in January labeled X for personal. Every single withdrawal had been made by Martin at the credit union's physical branch. Every single one required his signature. By 7:30 that morning, the full history was printed. 47 withdrawals over 3 years. Total amount withdrawn, $24,488. Total amount remaining, $4,312. The cushion I had built for my father's retirement had been emptied like a pantry. The question was where the money went. The answer took less than an hour. Martin's checking account showed a pattern that matched the cushion withdrawals almost dollar for dollar. Cash deposited after a cushion withdrawal. Then within days, a payment to Craig. Venmo transfers, Cash App payments, and direct deposits into Craig's checking account. Car repair for Craig's truck, $2,100. Craig's water heater replacement, $1,800. Jaden's birthday party at a trampoline park, $650. Zoe's dance competition travel, $1,400. Craig's phone bill, paid 4 times, $560. Grocery store runs on Craig's debit card, reimbursed by Martin, 17 separate transactions. Martin had been withdrawing my money from the retirement account and handing it directly to Craig. For 3 years. Every month I deposited $800, and within 2 weeks most of it was in Craig's pocket. Total withdrawn from the cushion account and redirected to Craig, $24,488. Combined with the $8,160 in school activity fees I had been paying directly for Craig's children. The total amount of my money that had ended up supporting Craig's household was $32,648. That did not include the older requests, the one-time payments Martin had asked for over the years that he had quietly passed along to Craig instead of using himself. Those were harder to trace, but the cushion account alone told the story clearly enough. That number sat on the kitchen table between my coffee mug and Damon's orange juice glass. He was getting dressed for work. Miles was eating cereal. Ruby was drawing on a napkin. The number sat there like a stone in the middle of an ordinary morning, and nobody in the room knew what it meant except me. My father had not built a retirement cushion. He had built a pipeline. And the pipeline ran from my paycheck to my brother's household, with Martin as the pump. The spreadsheet on my laptop grew a new column that morning. Redirected to Craig. Every cushion withdrawal traced, every Venmo transfer time-stamped, every recipient named. What happened next came from Craig's own phone. Francine found the listing. My colleague at the financial planning firm, the one who had listened to me talk about the birthday party the morning after it happened, the one who had said nothing except pull the bank statements before you do anything else. Francine is methodical in a way that makes her invaluable at work and slightly terrifying in a personal crisis. She had searched Facebook Marketplace for the bike model the morning after I told her. It took her 4 minutes. The listing was still live. Martin had not taken it down. 2 Trek mountain bikes listed at $1,400 each. 2 Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 units listed at $900 each. Total asking price, $4,600. The photos showed the items still in their shipping boxes. The same boxes I had packed and labeled and shipped to Martin's house 3 weeks before the cookout. My handwriting was visible on one of the labels. My return address was on the shipping sticker. The listing description said, brand new, sealed, never opened, pickup only. The listing had been posted 8 days before the party, not the morning of, not in a moment of poor judgment or financial desperation. 8 days in advance. Martin had received the packages, opened the outer shipping box to inspect the contents, photographed them, written the listing, set prices, and posted them online more than a week before Miles's birthday. The gifts had never been intended for Miles and Ruby. They had been inventory from the moment they arrived. And the seller's profile showed something that turned my stomach. The listing had been shared by Craig Holt on his own page, with the caption, Dad's clearing out some stuff. Good deals. DM him. Craig had shared the listing to help it sell faster. He knew. He had known for over a week. He knew the bikes were from me because Martin had told him. He knew the tablets were from me because the shipping label had my name on it. He had watched his father list my children's birthday gifts for sale on the internet, and instead of calling me, instead of stopping it, instead of walking over to Martin's house and saying, you cannot do this, he had shared the listing and typed the word deals. Don't embarrass yourself here, Viv. That whisper at the cookout was not a brother trying to keep the peace. It was a man protecting a system that fed his family. Every dollar Martin redirected, every gift Martin resold, every payment Martin collected from me and funneled to Craig, all of it depended on one thing, my silence. Craig's whisper was not advice. It was a threat. Keep quiet. Keep paying. Do not look at the numbers. Do not embarrass yourself by noticing what everyone in that backyard except you already knew. The school activity fees were canceled that afternoon. Jaden's travel baseball, $240 a month, terminated with a single phone call to the league's billing office. Zoe's dance studio, $100 a month, terminated with an email to the studio administrator. Both accounts had been in my name. Both were closed within 20 minutes. That left 2 calls to make. The first one went to Martin. The phone rang 3 times. He picked up with the voice of a man who expected this call and had already decided it would not go badly for him. Vivian, look, before you start, your mother used to do this too. Get emotional and make it bigger than it needs to be. The kids are fine. Miles probably forgot about the whole thing by now. Miles has not forgotten. Miles carried his birthday card to the car because you left it on the table. He has not mentioned your name in 2 days. See, that is what I am talking about. You make everything dramatic. Craig's kids needed something nice. Your kids already have everything. 2 bikes and 2 tablets for a 7-year-old? That is excessive, Vivian. I made a judgment call. You made a judgment call with $4,600 worth of gifts that I purchased and shipped to your house. You sold them online 8 days before the party. Craig shared the listing. Silence, 3 full seconds. Now let me tell you what else I found. The retirement cushion account. $28,800 in deposits over 3 years. Current balance, $4,312. 47 withdrawals, every dollar traced. $24,488 withdrawn and redirected to Craig. Car repairs, phone bills, dance competitions, birthday parties, groceries, every transaction time-stamped, every Venmo and Cash App transfer documented. You had no right to look through that account. My money, my deposits, my name on the automatic transfer. I have every right. Martin's voice shifted. Quieter, testing, you are overreacting. The bikes were just bikes. Kids do not even remember birthday presents. My son remembers. Craig needed the help more than your kids did. You know what Craig makes. You know what Tasha makes. They are barely holding on, and your kids have 2 brand new bikes and a Disney cruise and every gadget on the market. I was trying to balance things out. You balanced things out with my money, not yours. Mine, $4,040 every month. The condo, the cushion, the insurance, the school fees, $134,400 on the condo alone. And when that was not enough, you emptied the retirement account and handed $24,488 directly to Craig and told yourself it was fairness. I will pay you back for the gifts. Give me a few months. We can work something out. There is nothing to work out. The Disney cruise is canceled. $9,200 refunded to my account this morning. The retirement cushion account is closed. The $4,312 remaining has been transferred to my savings. The school activity fees for Jaden and Zoe are terminated. As of today, the $340 monthly payment no longer exists. You are going to throw away this family over money? His voice cracked at the edges. Over bikes and tablets? You are going to punish your father and your brother's children because you did not get a thank you card? You sold my children's birthday presents, Dad. Now I am selling your comfort. The difference is, mine were gifts. The line went quiet. If you are watching this on Betrayal Unfolded, this is the part where most people in my position would hang up. That is not what happened. Because there was one more call to make, and Martin was going to hear it. The second number was already dialed before Martin finished processing the killing line. 3-way calling. The property management office for Coastal Ridge Residences, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The line rang twice. Coastal Ridge Residences, this is Shannon. Shannon, this is Vivian Holt. I am the leaseholder on Unit 14B. Account number 7741. VH Martin's breathing changed on the other end of the line. Not louder, sharper, the kind of breath that comes when a person realizes the floor is about to move. Miss Holt, yes, I have your account pulled up. How can I help you? I am providing 30-day notice of lease termination for Unit 14B. Effective immediately. Final payment will be the current month already processed. No renewal. No extension. Vivian, Martin's voice came in low, fast, stripped of every posture it had carried 2 minutes ago. Vivian, stop. You do not know what you are doing. Shannon paused. Ms. Holt, I do have a note here that the unit is occupied by a Martin Holt. Is the occupant aware of this request? He is on the line right now, I said. Another pause. All right. I can process a 30-day termination notice. The unit will need to be vacated by the end of next month. Any remaining personal property after that date will be handled per our abandoned property policy. Shall I send the confirmation to your email on file? Yes, Vivian. Martin's voice had gone to a place it had never been before. Not angry, not commanding. Small, that condo is the only thing I have that is mine. It is not yours, Dad. It has never been yours. My name is on the lease. My credit qualified. My checking account has paid $2,800 every month for 4 years. You have been a guest in a home that belongs to me. The guest period is over. Where am I supposed to go? You have a house. The one with the insurance premium that has been on my credit card for 3 years. That card has been removed from the policy. The insurer will notify you that you have 14 days to provide a new payment method before the coverage lapses. The line from Shannon came back, Miss Holt. The termination notice has been processed. Confirmation is in your inbox. Is there anything else? No, thank you, Shannon. Shannon disconnected. Martin did not. He sat on the line for 11 seconds without speaking. The only sound was his breathing and the faint television in whatever room he was sitting in. Somewhere in the background, a door closed. Maybe Craig leaving. Maybe the wind. The silence had a weight to it that I had never heard from my father before. Not in 40 years of knowing him, not when my mother left, not when he lost his foreman position. This was different. This was the sound of a man hearing the architecture of his comfort get disassembled in real time by the same person who had built it. I almost felt something. I almost let the silence stretch into the kind of pause where someone says they are sorry and the other person says okay, and the whole thing gets folded back into the family like a crease in a tablecloth. What stopped me was not anger. It was the sound of Miles's voice in the car on the way home from the cookout. He had been quiet for 20 minutes. Then, from the back seat, so soft Ruby did not hear it, Mom, is there something wrong with us? 7 years old, asking if something was wrong with him because his grandfather shrugged. That question burned the pause away. Then, Martin said something so quiet it barely made it through the speaker. You are just like your mother. Mom paid her own bills, I said. You should try it. The call ended. The phone went face down on the kitchen table. The house was quiet. Damon was leaning against the counter with his arms crossed and his eyes on me. He did not say anything. He did not need to. He walked to the sink, filled a glass of water, set it beside the phone, the same way he had set the coffee mug down at 2 a.m. Quiet acts that said everything without using a single word. I almost picked the phone back up and called Craig directly. The spreadsheet was open. Every redirected dollar had his name on it. But something stopped me. Craig's consequence was not going to come from my voice. It was going to come from the places where my money had been keeping his life together, and the silence those places would create when the payments stopped. He would not hear it from me. He would feel it when the baseball league sent a past due notice, when the dance studio locked Zoe out of rehearsal, when Tasha asked where the $340 a month had been coming from, and Craig could not answer. That was a slower kind of consequence, and it was already moving. The letters arrived in the same week. The first came on a Tuesday. Martin's homeowner's insurance provider sent a notice in a window envelope with a red strip across the top that said action required. The automatic payment method on file, a credit card ending in 3347, had been removed by the cardholder. Martin had 14 days to provide a new payment method or the policy would lapse. The letter listed the annual premium, $1,200. The payment history attached showed one name on the automatic billing for the past 3 years, Vivian Holt. That name was now gone from the account. The second letter came on Thursday. Coastal Ridge Residences. Formal 30-day termination of lease for Unit 14B. Move-out date printed at the top in bold. Inspection window listed. Key return instructions on the second page. Utility disconnection notice attached. The letter was addressed to occupant because Martin's name had never been on the lease to begin with. 4 years of ocean views and Sunday morning balcony coffee, and the legal record showed a guest who had never signed a single document. The third letter came on Saturday. The credit union. Account closure confirmation for the retirement cushion savings account. Final balance transferred, $4,312 to an external account ending in 7704. Account status, closed. No further deposits accepted. No further withdrawals possible. The 3-year pipeline from my paycheck to Craig's household was sealed at both ends. 3 envelopes. 3 doors shutting. Every one of them had been held open by my money for years. Every one of them closed the same week. Martin stacked them on his coffee table, one on top of the other, and for the first time in 4 years looked at his life without a single payment coming from his daughter's name. Tasha found out about the school fees on a Wednesday, 14 days after the cookout. The Travel Baseball League sent an email to the billing contact on file, which was my email address, notifying me that Jaden's registration was past due and his roster spot would be released if payment was not received within 7 days. The email also went to the backup contact, Tasha's email, because the league required a parent's address for all minor players. The dance studio sent a separate notice the same day. Zoe's account was delinquent. Access to rehearsals would be suspended pending payment of the outstanding $100 balance. Tasha called Craig that evening. What happened in that kitchen was relayed to me later through Francine, my colleague, whose sister-in-law worked at the same dance studio where Zoe had been enrolled. Small towns carry information the way pipes carry water. You do not have to turn the faucet. Tasha had pulled up the baseball league's payment portal on her laptop. The billing history showed every payment for the past 2 years. Every single one came from a card ending in 3347. Tasha did not recognize the number. She asked Craig whose card it was. Craig said he did not know. Tasha typed the last 4 digits into their bank's card lookup. No match. Because the card was not theirs. It was mine. "Why was your sister paying for our children's activities?" Tasha said. "Why did I not know about this? How long has this been going on?" Craig did not have an answer that fit in one sentence. He tried. He said Martin had set it up. He said Vivian had offered. He said it was not a big deal. Each answer made the next question harder. Tasha pulled up their family bank account on her phone and started scrolling through deposits, cash deposits that matched the dates of Martin's credit union withdrawals. Money that Craig had told her came from side jobs and overtime hours at the warehouse. Money that came from me, through Martin, into Craig's pocket and onto their kitchen table disguised as earned income. The conversation lasted 40 minutes. By the end of it, Tasha was standing and Craig was sitting. She looked at him across the kitchen table and said, "You told me you earned that money. Every time I asked how we could afford things, you said overtime. You looked me in the face and said overtime." She took her keys and drove to her mother's house. She did not come back that night. She did not come back the next night either. Craig called Martin at 10:15 that evening. Martin did not pick up. Craig called again at 10:40. No answer. He sent a text that said, "Dad, Tasha knows. Call me back." Martin did not respond because Martin was sitting in his living room looking at 3 opened envelopes on his coffee table and understanding for the first time in 4 years what his life looked like without his daughter's checking account holding it together. 17 days after the cookout, Martin called me. His voice was different, slower. The anger from the first call was gone. What replaced it was something more calculated, more practiced, a tone that sounded like remorse but was shaped like a request. He had rehearsed this. The pauses were too even. The breathing was too controlled. "Vivian, I have been thinking about everything. I have had a lot of time to think, and I was wrong about the birthday gifts. I should not have sold them. That was a mistake, and I take responsibility for it. I should have talked to you first. I see that now." He paused, waiting for a response. None came. The silence sat on the line like a stone. "I also want you to know that I understand why you are upset about the retirement account. That money was supposed to be a cushion. I made bad decisions with it. Craig was struggling, and I thought I was helping him, but I should have been transparent with you about where it was going. That is on me." Still no response. "But here's what I need you to hear." His voice shifted. The rehearsed remorse gave way to something harder, something closer to the real Martin. "The condo situation needs to be fixed. My back cannot take the house in winter, you know that. The cold gets into the joints. I need that unit. If you call Coastal Ridge and explain that it was a miscommunication, they might reinstate the lease. They liked us. We were good tenants. We can work through the other stuff after. The account, the insurance, the fees, all of it is on the table. But the condo comes first." There it was. The apology was not an apology. It was a preamble to a request. Every word of remorse had been a runway to the thing he actually wanted, the condo back. "Damon, come look at this." Damon walked over from the living room. The laptop was already open on the kitchen table. The spreadsheet filled the screen. Every payment, every month, every dollar, organized by category with subtotals for each year. 8 years of data. The column headers read: condo lease, retirement cushion, insurance, school fees, one-time requests. The grand total at the bottom was highlighted in red. $207,560, I said. Not to Damon, to Martin. That is the total amount I have paid on your behalf over 8 years. Condo lease, $134,400. Retirement cushion deposits, $28,800. Insurance premiums, $3,600. School activity fees for Craig's children, $8,160. Birthday gifts you resold at Miles's party, $4,600. Individual requests going back to the furnace repair when I was 26, $28,000. And of the $28,800 I put into your retirement cushion, $24,488 was withdrawn and redirected to Craig. The cushion was a pipeline. The spreadsheet does not round, and neither does the bank. Martin started to say something. "I am not finished. This is the last time this number takes a call from you about money, about the condo, about the insurance, about Craig's kids, about anything that requires my name, my credit, or my checkbook. You told my son he mattered less at his own birthday party. You sold his presents and bought toys for the children of a man who helped you list them online. And you did all of it with a shrug. So here is mine." The laptop closed. The answer is no. The condo is gone. The account is closed. The insurance is canceled. The fees are stopped. And this conversation is the last one we are going to have about any of it. You already have too much fun stuff, Dad. Figure out the rest yourself. The call ended. Damon stood beside me for a moment. Then he put his hand on my shoulder, the way he does when words are not the right tool, and walked to the kitchen to start making dinner. The house filled with the sound of oil in a pan, and Ruby asking what was for dessert, and Miles setting the table without being asked. Ordinary sounds. The sounds of a house that runs on its own money and does not owe anyone a shrug or an explanation. 6 weeks after the cookout, Martin drove to Myrtle Beach. The 30-day termination deadline had passed 5 days earlier. Martin had removed his belongings from the unit during week 3, packing 2 suitcases and 4 boxes into the back of his truck on a Wednesday afternoon, while the property manager watched from the office window. He believed cooperation would convince me to reverse the decision. He left the key with the front desk and told the manager he would be back once his daughter came to her senses. The manager noted it in the file, processed the final inspection, and relisted the unit the following Monday. The drive back was 5 hours. He made it alone. Craig was sleeping in Jaden's room. Tasha was at her mother's. Martin pulled into his usual spot at Coastal Ridge, climbed the stairs to the second floor, and walked down the open-air hallway with the ocean visible through the railing. The same hallway he had walked every other weekend for 4 years, the same salt air, the same sound of waves reaching through the breezeway. The door to 14B had a new lock. A small white envelope was taped to it with clear packing tape. Inside, a single sheet confirming the unit had been professionally cleaned and relisted for new tenancy. The previous leaseholder, Vivian Holt, had fulfilled all obligations. No balance due. No further access authorized. The unit was no longer his in any sense, and the piece of paper made clear it never had been. Martin stood in front of that door for a long time. A woman from the next unit came out with a beach towel, looked at him, looked at the envelope, and went down the stairs without a word. He called Craig. No answer. The voicemail was Tasha's voice. This number is not accepting calls at this time. Martin sat in his car in the parking lot for 45 minutes with the engine off and the windows up. The ocean was 200 yards away. For the first time in 4 years, it was not his view. Then he drove home. 5 hours alone, with nothing on the passenger seat except a key that did not open anything. If you are watching this on Betrayal Unfolded and someone in your family has confused your generosity with obligation, this part is for you. 8 weeks after the cookout, the birthday card turned up. It had fallen between the driver's seat and the center console, wedged into the gap where coins and receipts and lost crayons disappear. Miles must have dropped it on the ride home from the cookout and never mentioned it. The green marker was smudged from being pressed against the seat fabric for 6 weeks. The drawing of Martin and Miles fishing was creased down the middle where it had folded against itself in the dark. But something had changed on the card. Miles had crossed out Best Grandpa with a crayon. Not scribbled, not torn. Crossed out, carefully with a single line. The way a child does when they mean it but have not yet learned to be angry about it. Underneath, in the same green marker, in handwriting that leaned hard to the right the way all of his letters do, he had written 2 words, Best Mom. Below the new words, a second drawing had been added. 2 stick figures, one tall and one short, holding hands. No fishing rods, no lake. Just the 2 of them standing next to each other. The card went on the refrigerator. Second shelf, center, held up with the magnet Ruby had made at school out of painted popsicle sticks. The smudged drawing of 2 people fishing was still visible above the crossed-out line. Ruby came in from the living room. She looked at the card for a long time, reading the words slowly the way 5-year-olds do, pointing at each letter with her finger. What does it say? It says Best Mom. Ruby thought about that for a second. Then she said, Miles is right. She went back to the living room. Miles was on the couch reading a book about sharks. He did not look up. He did not need to. The card was on the refrigerator, and that was where it was going to stay. Martin, as of that week, was back in his house full-time. No beach condo, no insurance until he figured out how to pay the $1,200 premium on a lumberyard salary that barely covered the mortgage. No retirement cushion. No pipeline to Craig. The 3 envelopes were still on his coffee table. He had not thrown them away. He had not opened them again either. They just sat there, 3 thin documents that described the exact shape of a life someone else had been holding up for 4 years. Craig was sleeping in Jaden's room. Tasha was at her mother's house more nights than she was home. The travel baseball fees were unpaid, and Jaden's roster spot had been released. Zoe had not been to dance rehearsal in 3 weeks. Craig had called Martin 4 times in the past month. Martin answered once. That conversation lasted 90 seconds. Neither of them mentioned my name. The pipeline that had connected Martin and Craig, the one that ran through my checking account and my credit card and my name on 6 different accounts, was dry. And neither of them knew how to talk to each other without it flowing. My credit score had ticked up 3 points since the condo lease closed. The $4,040 in monthly payments that had been leaving my account for 4 years was now sitting in a savings account with Damon's name next to mine. The Disney cruise refund of $9,200 was in the same account. The retirement cushion recovery of $4,312 was there too. The spreadsheet that had once tracked payments to Martin now tracked deposits into a college fund for Miles and Ruby. Same columns, same format, different direction. Every dollar that used to leave the house and land in Martin's accounts now stayed in it. Miles had mentioned Martin only once since the cookout. It was a Sunday morning, 3 weeks after the party. He had been eating breakfast and looking at the refrigerator, at the spot where the card now hung. "Grandpa does not know how to be nice to everybody at the same time," he said. Damon and I looked at each other across the table. Neither of us corrected him. Neither of us added to it. 7 years old, and he had described the problem more clearly than any spreadsheet could. He went back to his cereal and did not bring it up again. The birthday card stayed on the refrigerator. The magnet held. The green marker did not fade. And every morning when the coffee was poured and the cereal was set out and the backpacks were zipped and the shoes were tied, the card was there. 2 words in 7-year-old handwriting that said everything the spreadsheet could not. My name was on that card, and for the first time in 4 years, it was not on anything that belonged to someone who did not deserve it.